I wanted to be my own boss everywhere I worked because of the politics. I got fired. Some things happen to you, some things happen for you. Had I not been fired from WVKO radio station, had I not been fired, I would have never became a state legislator. Had I not been fired, I'd never produced specials for public television. Had I not been fired, I'd have never been paid $5 million to do a talk show by King World. Had I not been fired, I would have never been able to resign from the Ohio legislature and go back to Mamie to take care of my mother. I promised her that she would not end up in a nursing home. She used to work in a nursing home and never wanted to go. I remember my sister calling me, "Leslie, are you sitting down? What's wrong with Mama?" "Mama has breast cancer. It's terminal." I said, "I'll be right there." "You don't have to come. You got nice nursing homes in here in Dade County." "Listen to me. No, I'm coming." I left immediately, my political ambitions, everything, and I rung the doorbell. A friend of hers named Mildred was there. She came to the door. "Whoa, Mildred said, "Mamie, Leslie's here. Leslie's here." And I heard my mother say, "I knew he would come. I knew my boy would come." Is there somebody that you love? Somebody that is so important to you that if something happened to them, they can count on your being there, of your showing up? I want you to think about that. I want you to put voice in the comments section, because it allows you to control your own personal economy. It allows you to create your own job. See, a job is what you get paid for. Your calling is what you are made for. 86% of Americans go to jobs that they hate. And at the same time, they don't want to get fired. That's what you call mixed emotions. Seeing somebody you hate drive off a cliff in your car. You sad that they're gone, but not, you're glad that they're gone, but not in your car. Couldn't they do something else? Use a bicycle or something? To drive off a cliff, not in your car. You glad they're gone, though. Let me tell you something. This thing called life. Helen Keller had a point. Life is short and unpredictable. Eat the dessert first. Bet on you. Tomorrow's not promised. If we don't know anything else, we know that the coronavirus has taught us how fragile life is. Don't leave here doing something that's not you. Take a chance on you. Give yourself a chance. I wrote the quote, "Shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." My brothers and sisters, they thought I was crazy. And I am. Sometimes you gotta be out of your mind. Let that mind be in you. See, if there's gotta be another mind in you, then you got to be out of your mind, because that mind is not serving you. I want you, if you'd like to work with me, if you've heard my voice since you were a kid, and it touched you, it touched your heart, it expanded your vision of what was possible. If you were in a dark place and you just didn't think you could make it. William Hollis said to me, he's got a motivational message he put together, and I encourage you to get it. It's called, "I didn't come this far to come this far." He called me Pops. And let me share something with you. He's a bad boy up in here. And he said he was homeless and he heard my voice. I became his spiritual father. He heard my voice. And it brought him through a very difficult time. Jose Flores. Jose, he said, don't let your limitations become your standard. And Jose, who is bound in a wheelchair, but buddy, he's now motivating and speaking to corporations and individuals and inspiring them, even though he's confined to a wheelchair, quadriplegic. His beautiful wife, Adrian. You're still here. There's so much more in you. Simba, you are more than that which you have become. This is not for everybody, though. At this stage of my life, at 75, I'm looking for people that are hungry. I'm looking for people who say, Les Brown, I'm the one. That's what I told Mr. Washington. You go and you look at Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome. You go all the way to the end. I followed him and told him when he got through speaking to some seniors in the auditorium at Booker T. Washington High School. I was a junior. I followed him down the steps. My mother was working in the cafeteria at this time. I said, sir, do you remember me? No. I said, my name is Leslie Brown. My mother, Miss Mamie Brown, she works in the cafeteria. I'm a twin. I was in your class looking for MacArthur Stevens, and they called me DT, and I agreed with them, the dumb twin. And you came and looked at me and said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And I was startled. I said, do you remember me now? He said, yes. And I said, you said to them that they can make the school proud. They can make their families proud if they realize that they have greatness in them. I said, I was there, but you're not a senior. You're a junior. I said, I know, but I heard your voice, and I felt like you were talking to me. I said, can I make my mother proud? He said, yes. I said, but what about the fact that I failed math and English and history and going to summer school for the 5th straight year? He said, your grades don't determine who you are. You just have to work harder. And he turned to walk away. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, what is it now? You said if just one person heard your voice, that your being brought here from Stuart, Florida would not have been in vain. He said, yes. I said, I'm the one, sir. I am the one. He said, it's possible, Mr. Brown. He turned and walked away. I said, remember my name. I'm the one, sir. I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. And one day you're going to hear my name again. I'm the one. And I'm sure he just dismissed it. You see the video, Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome. I'm not going to end it for you, but it tells the full story. Here's what I'm saying. Some things happen to you. Some things happen for you. Keep the faith, baby. As Adam Clayton Powell, great congressman out of New York, once said. Keep the faith. Faith that has never been tested can't be trusted. Keep the faith, baby. Judge not according to appearances. Keep the faith, baby. Greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. Keep the faith, baby. He said, I'll give you whatever you desire. Keep the faith, baby. I'll give you all that your eyes can see. Hold the vision of what you want to create. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Keep the faith, baby. Use your superpower, your power voice. A lot of people caught up in the drama, the politics, and all the stuff that's going on. Don't worry about what's going on in the White House. Worry about what's going on in your house. Because at the end of the day, you're only 6 inches from success. That's the distance from this ear to this ear. Develop your mind. Be ye not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Most people are witnesses. They're watching television. They're fans. You want to be a player? Kid and play. I'm kid. You want to be a player? You want to be the person who stands for something, who will live a life that will outlive them? Let me work with you to develop your power voice. Let me shorten your learning curve. Let me share with you how I came from nothing to get here. You're watching me because you know in your heart of hearts what I've done, you can do plus more. Put voice in the comment section. There's somebody that you know that needs to hear this message. I want you to like this page and share it. Like it and share it. But I'm not just looking for anybody. I'm ready to close this thing out. I'm just looking for people that are hungry, that are serious, that are coachable. Because most people aren't. Most people don't know that they don't know, and they think they know. One of the worst things in the world to deal with. Arrogance and ignorance. People who don't know and they think they know. Oh, behave, whatever. You have so much more to express. You're still here. Every day is a great day, as Orrin Hudson would say. If you don't believe it, try missing one. If you're ready to make more money, if you're ready to be your own boss, if you're ready to generate and control your own personal economy, if you're ready to advance your career, if you're ready to run for office and make a greater impact and to live a life that will outlive you, be a policy maker, put voice in the comment section. If you have some skills, some knowledge, you're a speaker, trainer, coach, and you want to make yourself stand out, name of the game today is attention. How to get attention, how to create an experience to hold the attention, and how to direct the attention. That's the name of the game. Put voice in the comment section. People are rushing to become a part of our training program, the leading program on the planet. I do it. I control it. I direct it. And if you can find somebody who's come from where I've come from and done what I've done and overcame what I overcame, I encourage you. Do it with them. Got somebody who can do it and accomplish what I have accomplished, becoming a dominant force in this industry, my hat goes out to you. This is not for everybody that I do. The Power Voice system. He who has ear, let him hear. If you could hear me in your heart, this is your time. You watch me up to this point, you know in your heart of hearts, these things ye shall do and greater things shall ye do. You're ready for the greater work. Put voice in the comment section. Do it now. Don't put it off. Oh, I can't afford to do it. You can't afford not to do it. You know, people are talking about how much does it cost? Don't worry about how much does it cost. Ask yourself the question. The guy asked me, how much will it cost you if you don't do it? Had I not bet on me, had I not put my money where my mouth is, whew, oh my God, it had cost me millions of dollars, literally. The clients I've had, AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, IBM, it had cost me millions of dollars, and the lives that I could have transformed had I not bet on me. Everybody being practical and logical and reasonable say, you're wasting your time. There are over 3,000 members of the National Speakers Association. Sometimes in life, you've got to be unreasonable. That's why we're taught to walk by faith and not by sight. That's why we're taught to call forth those things that be not as though they were. Judge not according to appearances, but right judgment, right thoughts, right feelings, right emotions, right relationships, and right vision. Yeah, let everybody else follow all the drama that's going on. He said, I'll keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, not on thee in the drama. Drama will always be here. Always. Three kinds of people that will come out of this period where we are. There's a reckoning going on. There's a reckoning going on. Benjamin Franklin said, nothing will change until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are affected. There's some good-hearted people who now see, whoa, these people weren't making this up. Wow. Oh my God. Who would have thought? These people have been getting away with murder, judge, jury, and executioner. That's not American. But you know what I found? Hate is more important and more powerful than many people's religious values, the sense of morality. Hate is more important. Isn't that interesting? How they hold the Bible. They don't read, as a man thinketh, so is he. As he continues to think, so he remain. The least that you do unto these, my brethren, you do it also unto me. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. Stand up for something. I had a saying when I was on WVKO radio station in Columbus, Ohio. Stand up for what you believe in, because you can fall for anything. And there are people right now. Just look around. Just look around. Oh my goodness. It's amazing. Don't try and figure it out. You can't figure out crazy. You can't do that. No. Leave it alone. Keep thine eyes single. Live your life to the fullest. Live a life that will outlive you, because you can. You were chosen out of 400 million sperm. You're a masterpiece because you're a piece of the master. I'm looking for a few hungry people. We will vet you. And I'm 75, so I don't have patience for foolishness. I'm looking for people that are positive, that are passionate, that are coachable, that will listen, that's ready to be introduced to a part of themselves that they don't know. See, you can't read the label when you're locked in the box. Sometimes you need somebody to facilitate that process. You can't get there by yourself. All of us at different points in our lives are like what former heavyweight champion Joe Frazier said, like a blind man standing on a corner waiting for someone to lead him across the street. All of us have had our moments in the Garden of Gethsemane. Millions of people right now going through a tough time, nervous, can't sleep at night, fearful of being evicted or foreclosed on, or losing their jobs, can't get a good night's sleep. And your voice, the voice of hope, your voice, your story, the things that you've overcome and the things that you've gone through can become their guide, their survival guide to navigate these times where we are. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. He said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. Keep in mind, God's still in control.
Les, I want to know, before that time when someone came and believed in you, was this still your natural state? Would you still make jokes? Were you still laughing a lot? Or were you a different person then?
I was still laughing a lot. My personality is very much like my adopted mother. I just discovered, as you know, my birth mother. And I always say that my adopted mother and my birth mother, the difference was my birth mother gave me life. My adopted mother taught me how to live life. She had a tremendous sense of humor. And life was very challenging. We were poor, but we did not know it because we lived life through her eyes and through her vision of creating a life for us that indicated that we had the possibilities to overcome whatever was in our path. And so she always found something funny to laugh about. I remember a Mother's Day, I called my mother, my adopted mother, and she used to curse all the time. That was just who she was. And I said on Mother's Day, Mama, happy Mother's Day to you. And she said, thank you. And she lived in Miami, Florida at that time. I was in Columbus, Ohio. I said, how you doing today? And she said, Leslie, I'm sweating like a hoe in church. I said, Mama, I said, I'm on the air. She said, hell, well, when they're in church and the preacher's preaching, they are sweating. I said, Mama, don't explain it. And during this time, you couldn't delete what people said, and she wanted to go on and explain it. I said, Mama, you don't have to explain it for me. But that was my mother. And so she had a sense of humor. But she also taught me how to tell stories while my brothers and sisters had fun outside playing with each other. My adopted mother had ankles swollen from arthritis, and I would massage her ankles and her feet. I developed a foot fetish because of that, but that's another conversation. And so on, I would massage her feet. She would tell me stories, and I said, Mama, tell me that story again about when you would go down and feed an alligator chickens. And she said, Leslie, I've told you that story so many times. But the reason I had her to tell me stories over and over again, she told them the same way with the same excitement and sense of adventure. And I loved that, had no idea. You know, Candace, we live life going forward, but we understand it looking backwards. And she, by telling me these stories and how I listened, cultivated the ability in me to tell stories, and not just tell them, but to experience them as she did when she told them. And I train speakers, as you know, and I teach them not just to present the story, but to experience the story. And I came into this industry, people just giving information from the book Think and Grow Rich. Information, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. They wouldn't need speakers, they could just Google the information. Information only impacts 2 areas of the brain. But when you tell a story, like I tell the story about wanting to take care of my mother and buy her a home, which I accomplished, stories, it impacts 5 areas of the brain. Stories expand your vision because you go into your imagination, and it touches the heart, and we are emotional people, and it ignites a spirit to make a decision to take your life in a different direction. We make decisions, and our decisions make us. And so when I look at who I am now and where I am, I always quote Abraham Lincoln. He said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. And that's why I always say, this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. But now that I've discovered my birth mother, Dorothy Rucker, I said, this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy and Dorothy Rucker's pride and joy. Oh, behave, hello.
Wow, Liz, you emphasize storytelling, and you've got such a poeticism about, your stories, how you tell a story, and how on the spot you can do that. That kind of lyricism that you have, when did you start learning it? I know you said your mom taught you, but when you started incorporating it into your work, how did it start working in your mind?
What I came to realize, particularly when I saw the shift taking place in the motivational industry, where people wanted to speak to sell, and that didn't fit well with me. I'm who I am because someone looked at me when I was struggling to believe in myself, Mr. Leroy Washington, and he knew that I was called DT, the dumb twin, and he told me, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And he taught me three things because I've never known my biological father. He said, and he did not know I adopted him as my spiritual father. Three things that's very important. There's seven, but three that you really need to horn in on. And I said, what are they? He said, number one, develop your mind. He said, people don't live life as it is. They live life as they are. That grabbed me. L.C. Robinson said, things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you. The second thing that he said, develop a thirst to learn. If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you're willing to learn, no one can stop you. We are in a new place where our lives have been disrupted by a global pandemic. And so disruptions require transformation. Einstein said, the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. So now we have to develop and upgrade our skill set, a new set of skills to help us to navigate where we are. And that transformation is an ongoing process. The other thing that he taught me was that practice OQP. And what he was saying was create a community of people that's going in the direction of where you're going, people that you can learn from, people that will challenge you to grow, that will hold you accountable, have praise and progress reports, build communities of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships with people that will challenge you to reach deep within yourself and to take you in a place in yourself that you can't go by yourself. People rub off on you. You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. My mother said, Leslie, if you run around with 9 broke people, I guarantee you, you'll become number 10. So always look for ways in which you can upgrade your relationships, that you can learn from the people that's around you, the people that's in your ear, people that's going in the direction of where you're going, people that have goals and dreams. The Academy Award winner, Sidney Poitier, who passed last year, he said, when you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. He said, either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? And so I come to understand and to know that life is like an elevator. The higher you go up, the more often you have to stop and let some people off because they stop growing. They stop pushing themselves and challenging themselves. And you want people that will bring out the best in you. You want people that would push you and stretch you and challenge you to reach higher. And so that's how I live my life, being around people that I'm learning from. Dennis Kimball out of Atlanta said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. Those three things, your mindset, your willingness to learn, and the community of people that will push you to another level.
Now, I talk a lot about faith-based finance on our channel, which seems to be sometimes a very, I don't know why it is today, a controversial topic, and a lot of people don't want to mess or mix, faith, finance, or even politics. But I find it is a very appropriate thing to do because there's certain values and principles. When I hear you, I've heard you in my ear talking now for the last 23 years, talking about that all the time. It seems like you also have a way to preach without being preachy in the way you talk. Have you mixed that in the way you've delivered your message?
Well, one of the things I do when I train speakers, I let them know that their audience is inside of each audience. So you want to speak in a way that everybody can hear you and you're not turn anybody off. You're not proselytizing. So that's why I would say my favorite book,
Yeah.
And that could be the Kabbalah, the Torah, the Bible, any number of books, because I read a great deal. But what's important is the message that has universal appeal and is timeless, things that people can implement right now. And so, just like I was reading last night in the Kabbalah, and there's a line that says, the lips of the wise are sealed to the ears of the ignorant. In Scripture, it says, don't cast pearls before swines, lest they turn and rend you. Same languaging approach, but different in terms of context. And so what's very important is that we become very knowledgeable about the audiences inside of each audience when we speak. And there are people that will, when I say my favorite book, they will come to me afterwards and say, that's my favorite book too.
Okay.
Or somebody will come up and say, what's your favorite book? And I will say, don't worry, you're going to hell anyhow, don't worry.
That's the signature laugh right there.
I'm so sorry, but you're going to hell, don't worry, I'll tell you later on. So I have a lot of fun with it, but it allows you to establish a level of connection. You cannot correct unless you connect. And so doing the due diligence on that audience and understanding what are the things that you can say in a way that will create an experience that will have them on the edge of their seats, as opposed to doing an information dump. The speaking industry has been governed by the Dale Carnegie course for a long time. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Okay.
And my approach is opposite of that. Never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. So ask strategic questions before you show up, so that you know more about them than they expect you to know, and that you can create an experience strategically with your story and other stories, because how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. So when you speak, what we do is distract, dispute, and inspire. We distract them from their story, their self-explanatory style. We dismantle their current belief system based upon what we have experienced and how we relate that to them and what they're dealing with, and ignite a spirit of courage to begin to make a new decision about their lives. And as you are aware, we make decisions, and our decisions make us.
I find this pretty brilliant for you to bring all this stuff up, because for many people that need to be refreshed about Les Brown's story, you were deemed somebody that was dyslexic, you were mentally handicapped.
I was labeled educable, mentally retarded.
Educable.
Yeah.
Okay.
That he can't learn. They call me DT, the dumb twin, because I have a twin brother. Yeah, and that stayed with me. And when I met Mr. Washington, this gentleman, he taught me three main things that to this day serves me well. I was in his class waiting on a friend of mine named MacArthur Stevens, and he said, I want you to go to board and work this problem out for me, young man. And I said, sir, I'm not one of your students. He said, go and do what I'm asking you to do anyhow. I said, I can't do what you're asking me to do. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie, he's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart, he's DT. And he asked, what's DT? And they said, he's the dumb twin. And they erupted in laughter. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk, he looked at me.
He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. He disrupted the vision that I had of myself and how I saw myself. And I wanted to be like him. I followed him. He was a guy that I loved how he dressed, always in shirt and tie, and I loved how eloquent that he was. And I've never known my birth mother or father until just a few months ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And so as a result, I followed him and wanted to be like him. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, because they were great orators, and Billy Graham. I always studied people who had great presentation skills. That has always been a fascination of mine.
What did you take away from your early studies of these speakers? And I'm going to get back to the strategic questions here in a second, but what did you take away from the people that inspired you? What caught your attention?
What caught me is that, one, you can transform people's lives and you don't know them. Complete strangers, based upon how you put your presentation together, and them seeing you in a light that they feel comfortable letting you into their minds, and you can take them to a place in themselves that they can't go by themselves, because you can't read the label if you're locked in the box. And so I spent time to study the mind. How is it that I'm meeting these people for the first time? And what is it that I can do to create an experience that will transform them? Three-dimensional storytelling, that we can expand their vision of themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their culture and the environment that they're in, and touch their hearts, because we're emotional people, and ignite their spirit where they have the courage to say, I'm going to do something different with my life. That's to me is the most important things that we can do, because people are asking when they hear you speak, one-on-one, small groups, or large groups, who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so in the course of the presentation, when you address those things so that people feel comfortable, they trust you, they're willing to be transparent and allow you to come into their lives and speak to them and help them to begin to learn techniques and strategies on how to make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. Take them on that journey, that experience. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was.
When you think about the audience that you're talking to really understand them, what are those, if you were to boil it down to maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 questions that you ask to really get to know that audience so you can deliver that, what's some of the questions you should ask from every audience before you speak to them?
When you look at yourself, look at the industry, look at where you're going and the goals that you want to achieve, and hopefully they're far beyond what you achieved last year. What radical change must you make in your culture, in your mindset, individually and collectively, and how you're showing up in your industry? Because people don't live life as it is, they live life as they are. So in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. So what changes are you going to make that will allow you to begin to achieve these goals that you've set for yourself? You're in this place where Einstein said that the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. And so now it's about going within. Now it's about self-awareness. Who are you really? Now, how did you get here? And what will it take for you to get from here to over here? This requires at another level a new set of skills that you don't have right now. So what is it you need to do so that you can upgrade yourself? You know, we have the computer, we have to do updates, okay, to update yourself. Robert Schuller said, we either expand or we are expendable.
Les, if you don't mind, share with us about your new book real quick.
Yes, it's called You've Got to Be Hungry. The greatness within to win. And what it's about is how to deal with times like we're going through right now. I went through a lot of stuff, and I realize now that at the time, life is lived forward, but you learn from it looking back, that there are things that I thought happened to me, but really, like you just said, they happened for me, because I would have not become the person that I am now. When I was fired from WVKO radio station in Columbus, Ohio, I would have never become a state representative. I would have never been in a position to resign from the Ohio legislature to go back to my mother in Miami and take care of her and buy her a home. I would have never gotten a talk show and King World paid me $5 million to do. I would have never become a state representative, a talk show host, and then a motivational speaker and travel around the world changing millions of people's lives. That period in my life, that firing, it was a pivotal point. It was a defining moment. Helen Keller said that when one door closes, another door opens. But most of us spend time talking about, looking at it, becoming depressed about the closed door. We don't see the open door. All things work together. When I get up in the morning, first thing I say, all things work together for good, for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. And that's the stand that I'm taking with my life, regardless of what's going on out here in this world. And what we must know, that we have the ability to change our lives, that we do what the best that we can, and God will do what we can't. And as we look at ourselves and look at where we are right now, this has not come to stay, it has come to pass. I saw a quote once that said, in life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. You can't tell me that God is not in the midst of this. No, I just think that he looked down and said, you know what, all y'all acting up, everybody go to your room. I look for funny things every day when I get up to make me laugh. I saw this email that says, if you get an email that says knock knock, that's a Jehovah's Witness working from home. I said, oh my God. All these people that think of these crazy things, my God. Oh my Lord. So it's a great day. I have a friend of mine named Orrin Hudson, and he teaches young kids how to play chess, how to become strategic thinkers. And I said, Orrin, how you doing? He said, it's the best day of my life. And then I thought about, how could he say that? And I knew he was going through some tough times, but it is. You know why? He woke up. If you woke up this morning and you don't have a chalk outline around your body, it's the best day of your life. If you don't believe it's the best day of your life, try missing one. And so we have to work. Listen to motivational messages, inspirational music. I encourage you to go online and look at Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome. I was speaking before 80,000 people. I was scared out of my wits. I don't even remember giving the speech. I went to the bathroom probably about 5 times before I finally said, okay. And my mentor said, Brownie, you got this. And sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And I'm saying to you, those of you that are listening to me right now, regardless of what's going on, you got this. If you got a pulse, you got this. If you're still breathing, you've got this, because greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. And when we make a commitment, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. I'm not going by what they say on the television. I'm just grateful. He said, I'll keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. So I'm not consumed with the news. There's CNN, constant negative news. No. Or 45, no. I'm getting still. I'm praying as Mother, as Mary McLeod Bethune would say, pray as if everything depends upon God, and work as if everything depends upon you. And so I'm praying and I'm working to create a new life for myself. I'm praying and I'm working to get a 6-pack. I got a 1-pack now, covering up 5 packs. But they're coming out. 6-pack coming soon.
So Les, when you said, I mean, yeah, no CNN, no constant negative news, no bad Morning America, you're exactly right. What I've been doing recently, and you've been a part of that too, is over the last couple of years, I had some health challenges, almost died with appendicitis and stuff like that. And it changes your perspective, because you get up not going, man, I have to go work out. You get up going, man, I'm blessed to be able to work out. This is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, just like that, right? So I wake up with an attitude of gratitude. And it's almost like on a daily basis recently, I've been playing a game like, how many things can I be thankful for throughout the day? I was thanking God for my pillow the other night, my mattress. Be thankful. Y'all ought to thank God that I have some clothes, right? If not, this will be a really bad interview. Right. But I just an attitude of gratitude. And when I get up in the morning, I don't go straight to my phone and the social media and the stress. I'm grateful. I have an attitude of gratitude. I meditate. I pray. I do my devotions. While I'm getting ready and I've taken a shower, fixing my hair, I've got a Les Brown message on my YouTube, right? I got a podcast going. I'm just flooding my mind because I understand, that there's no room for stinking thinking, as you say right now, right?
Right.
I start my day like that, and I end my day because we marinate on what we listen to, what we read, what we watch right before we go to bed. And so all night you're marinating on that. So if I can control the beginning of the day and the end of my day, I can control what happens throughout the middle of my day a lot more, right? And so I learned a long time ago, and you were the reason that really got me on that path, that your thoughts control your behaviors and your behaviors control your results. And going through these challenging times, obstacles lead to elevation. There is no elevation without obstacles if we have the right perspective. And so real quick, so your book, where can they go get your book?
They can go to Amazon and get the book. You've Got to Be Hungry by Les Brown, and it will help them to navigate what's going on right now. It will help them to overcome their fears. It will teach them the keys to how to build relationships, strategic, collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. But it also will teach them how to make it against the odds. That's major. I was labeled educable mentally retarded, as you know, when I was in the 5th grade, and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. And then I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I have no college training, but I had a high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington, who had the same kind of personality as you. And John, he said to me, he said, I want you to go to board and work this problem out for me. I said, oh, sir, I can't do that. I said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, look at me. I said, yes, sir. He said, go and do what I'm asking you to do anyhow. I said, I can't, sir. And the other kids started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? He's the dumb twin. And everybody erupted in laughter. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. How people live their lives, Darren, is a result of the story they believe about themselves. He interrupted my story. Mama said, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Words can hurt, and very deeply. And he interrupted the story that I believed about myself, that I had been told over and over and over again. And so we have to really make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to reinvent ourselves. And why? Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind, reaching forth unto those things which are before. Well, I heard something one night in a movie called Magnolia with Tom Cruise. It was a powerful line that said, we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us.
Mm.
Okay? That we all have some stuff that we are dealing with. I'm like the lady who said, Lord, I ain't what I want to be, ain't what I'm going to be, but thank God I sure ain't what I was. And so in this book, the people who get this book, they'll be a different person when they get to the last chapter. It will teach them the methods and the techniques, how I made my first million, methods and techniques of how not to allow tough times to get you down, how to work through those and grow mentally and emotionally and spiritually. It helps you to begin to build your faith and allow your doubts to starve to death. It's engaging. It will bring you to tears. You'll get up and want to run. You'll live with a sense of urgency. I remember when I was married to Gladys Knight, and when we were at a table in Caesar's Palace, it was Frank Sinatra was at this event, and he was seated next to a guy, and I heard him say, live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. And so we have to learn to live with a sense of urgency. We don't know how much time we have left, and therefore we want to live each day as if it were our last.